Welcome to MetaBookNook Deep Dives for Curious Minds.
It's great to be diving in again.
So today we're exploring Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements. We've got the full audiobook transcript, and our goal, as always, is to pull out those key insights for you.
Right, sort of a shortcut to getting the core wisdom.
Exactly. And this wisdom, it comes from the Toltec tradition, doesn't it?
It does. Ancient southern Mexico. And the Toltecs, well, they weren't really a nation in the way we think of it. They were more like communities of scientists and artists.
Focused on spiritual knowledge.
Precisely. Exploring and preserving it. Places like Teotihuacan were apparently central, seen as spots where humans could connect with the divine.
But they had to hide this knowledge for a long time.
Yeah, that's the story. With the European conquest and seeing how power could be misused, the guardians, the Nagual, they kept it secret.
Passed down through lineages, waiting for the right time.
There was apparently a prophecy about its return, and Don Miguel Ruiz, he's a Nagual from the Eagle Knight lineage.
And he felt guided to share these teachings now.
Yes. And it's interesting, he emphasizes that while it resonates with universal truths found in many traditions, it's not presented as a religion.
More like a practical way of life.
Exactly. Focused on achieving happiness and love right here, right now.
He starts with this powerful allegory, the smoky mirror. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. Imagine someone, like any of us, really searching for deeper meaning.
Okay.
This person eventually has this realization that everything fundamentally is light. Everything's made of light.
Wow, okay. So the world we see.
It's like an illusion, a dream. He calls it smoke. This illusion that stops us from seeing our true nature.
Which is?
Pure love and light, according to this view. The smoke is what clouds our perception.
It really makes you think about what constitutes that smoke in our own lives, those ingrained beliefs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He talks about the tonal and the nagual. The tonal is, well, everything we perceive, the stars, the physical world, our reality.
And the nagual.
That's the light between the stars.
Right.
The space, the source, the absolute. Life or intent is the force connecting them.
So everything is just one living being manifesting God, essentially.
That's the idea. Our perception is just light perceiving light. Matter itself is like a mirror reflecting this light, creating the images of our world.
And the smoke, the illusion, is how we interpret those reflections. That's what keeps us from seeing ourselves clearly.
Exactly. The person in the story realizes this, sees himself in everything, understands the connection through the tonal and the nagual.
But trying to explain it was difficult.
Very. Language just couldn't capture it. People saw he'd changed, he had this peace, but they couldn't grasp why.
They even called him God.
They did. And he apparently said, yes, I am God, but so are you. We are the same. But the smoke, that collective dream, prevented them from seeing it in themselves.
So he became a mirror for them, reflecting their own divinity, but they couldn't recognize it.
Right. So he called himself the smoky mirror, a reminder that matter reflects. And the illusion, the dream of humans keeps us from knowing our true selves.
It's a powerful setup for why these agreements are needed to clear that smoke.
Definitely. And that leads us right into his exploration of what he calls domestication and the dream of the planet.
The dream of the planet, that's like the collective consciousness.
Sort of, yeah. It's the sum total of humanity's collective dream, of all the societal rules, beliefs, laws, religions, cultures, everything.
It's like the operating system we're born into.
A good way to put it, we're born with the capacity to dream, and the people already here teach us how to dream according to society's rules.
And this teaching process, this domestication, starts right away.
Immediately. It works by capturing our attention. Parents, schools, religion, they hook our attention and introduce these rules, often through repetition.
Attention is key then. It's how we learn and internalize this dream.
Absolutely. Think about it as kids. Our attention is constantly being directed. Teachers, parents, everyone wants to impart their version of the dream.
And language is the code for this dream, isn't it?
It is. Every word is an agreement. We agree on what things are called. Once we learn the code, information flows. Energy is transferred via our attention.
And the striking thing is, we never consciously chose most of these fundamental agreements.
Not at all. Our first language, our initial beliefs, our name they were given to us, we just agreed.
An agreement solidifies into belief. Ruiz calls unconditional belief faith in this context.
Right. As children, our faith is huge. We trust the adults. So that initial programming shapes our whole life's dream.
And this process of accepting the outside dream is what he calls domestication.
Yes. Learning how to live, how to behave, what's right, what's wrong, how to judge
Judge ourselves, judge others.
everything based on this inherited rule book.
He compares it to training a pet using reward and punishment.
Mm-hmm. We do it with kids too,
Mm.
often out of love, but the system is the same. You get punished for breaking the rules, rewarded for following them.
And that teaches us to fear punishment and crave the reward, which is often attention or approval.
Exactly. So we start pretending, trying to be good to please others.
Wearing masks, hiding our true selves because we're afraid of rejection, afraid of not being good enough.
That feeling is so common. And eventually we internalize it. We become our own domesticator,
Punishing and rewarding ourselves based on that same internal rule book.
which he calls the book of law. It dictates our truth, even if it contradicts our inner knowing. Moral codes, everything gets programmed in.
And this leads to the inner judge.
Yes, that part of the mind that constantly evaluates everything against the book of law, it finds us guilty whenever we step out of line.
Which creates guilt and shame.
Loads of it.
Yeah.
And then there's the victim part,
The part that receives the judgment.
right? The part that feels the blame, the shame, the I'm not good enough feeling, and the judge confirms it.
And this whole internal drama is based on beliefs we never consciously chose. It's quite a thought.
It really is. These beliefs are so deep that challenging them feels scary. We cling to them even if they cause pain because they feel safe, familiar.
So even if we intellectually disagree with a rule, we still feel the guilt if we break it because the agreement holds power.
Exactly. Our belief system is the law of our personal dream. Judge enforces it, victim suffers it.
He talks about justice versus injustice here, doesn't he? Paying once versus paying repeatedly.
Yes, he points out that humans are kind of unique in punishing themselves over and over for the same mistake. Reliving it, feeling guilty again.
All fueled by a flawed belief system. He says something like 95% of our beliefs are lies.
That's his claim. And we suffer because we believe these lies. The collective dream, the dream of the planet, normalizes suffering and fear.
He calls it the dream of hell, characterized by fear, violence, injustice.
It mirrors religious descriptions of hell, doesn't it? A state of mind filled with punishment, fear, negative emotions.
So in a way, we're already living in it. Others can make it worse, but only if we let them.
Because everyone carries their own personal dream, often dominated by that same fear, expressing as anger, jealousy, hate.
But he believes a pleasant dream is possible.
Absolutely. He thinks our search for truth and beauty comes from a subconscious knowing that we're operating under false pretenses, that something better is within us.
But our agreements act like blinders.
Yeah, our need to be right, our faith in our existing beliefs keeps us trapped. That's where the Toltec concept of Maya comes in illusion.
The veil obscuring reality. It's tied to our personality, our sense of I am.
Exactly. All our concepts, our programming, that's the Maya. It stops us from seeing our true free selves.
And he says our biggest fear isn't death, it's actually being fully alive, expressing who we really are.
Because we're terrified of rejection, of not being good enough, we learn to perform for others.
We create this image of perfection during domestication.
An ideal we think we should be to get accepted, but it's unrealistic. We can never match it perfectly.
And that gap leads to self-rejection.
Yes, we become our own harshest critics, punishing ourselves for not meeting this impossible standard, feeling false, wearing masks.
Does this resonate with you? That feeling of hiding?
Oh, definitely. It's a very human thing. And then we judge others based on our own flawed image of perfection,
And this internal judge-victim dynamic drives self-abuse.
which can be worse than external abuse.
Yeah.
And crucially, the level of self-abuse we tolerate dictates what we'll accept from others.
Wow. So if we beat ourselves up, we might accept others doing it too, believing we deserve it.
It's a tough cycle. Less self-love equals more self-abuse,
Mhm.
stemming from rejecting our imperfect selves.
So we make all these agreements with ourselves, others, society, but the ones with ourselves are the most powerful.
They define who we think we are, what we believe, what's possible for us. They shape our reality,
And accumulating fear-based agreements creates suffering.
right? To find joy, we need the courage to break those agreements and reclaim our personal power. Fear-based ones drain energy. Love-based ones conserve or generate it.
Personal power. We're born with it, but we spend it creating and maintaining these limiting agreements.
That's the idea. It leaves us feeling depleted. So to change our life's dream, we have to dismantle the agreements holding us captive.
But the good news is, these 4 agreements can help us do that. Break free, reclaim energy.
Yes. Breaking an old agreement returns the power invested in it. Adopting these new ones builds power, enough to potentially transform the whole system.
It takes effort, a strong will,
But the potential is huge. Moving from that dream of hell to a personal dream of heaven, and the very first agreement is the starting point.
which is be impeccable with your word.
Exactly. And Ruiz says this one is the most important, maybe the hardest, but also the one capable of creating heaven on earth all by itself.
Why is the word so powerful?
Because it's our power to create, a gift from God or source.
Oh.
He points to the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word.
So through words, spoken or thought, we manifest things.
We express our creative energy, our reality. It's our primary tool, the instrument of magic. But it's double-edged.
Create beauty or destroy.
Precisely. Impeccability leads to beauty and love. Misuse of the word, what he calls black magic, leads to destruction and suffering.
Black magic. That sounds intense.
It is. He uses Hitler as an extreme example, using words to manipulate, incite fear, and cause immense destruction. Words shaped agreements on a massive scale.
He uses the analogy of the mind as fertile ground for seeds, right? Thoughts and ideas being seeds.
Yes, and the problem is, our minds are often too fertile, especially for seeds of fear. We need to be aware of what we're planting and cultivate love instead.
Because a single word, a single negative idea can grow into a whole drama.
Absolutely. An opinion voiced casually can act like a spell. We act as unwitting black magicians constantly.
Like telling someone they look like someone who had cancer. That example is chilling.
It is. If the person believes it, agrees with it, the word takes root. Think about childhood opinions from parents or siblings. You're bad at math, you're clumsy.
We internalize those as agreements, and they can limit us for years.
Totally. That's the power of the word to shape belief. But conversely, a strong, positive word could potentially break an old, negative agreement.
So what does impeccable actually mean here, without sin?
Yes, from the Latin. But Ruiz redefines sin as anything you do against yourself,
So being impeccable means not using your word against yourself.
primarily,
Yeah.
and also not against others, because ultimately, negativity directed outward comes back to harm us too. Spreading emotional poison affects our own state.
Whereas expressing love is more likely to generate love in return, impeccability is about using our energy for truth and self-love.
And just intending to be impeccable can start the cleansing process. But it's hard because we've learned to lie.
Especially to ourselves.
Often, yes. In the dream of hell, the word is constantly misused. Cursing, blaming, finding guilt, spreading poison like anger, jealousy, hate
We plot revenge, create chaos with words.
between people, families, nations. It perpetuates the suffering, misusing our magic.
That story about the mother telling her daughter her singing was awful. That's heartbreaking.
It really illustrates unintentional black magic. The mother, stressed and unaware, cast a spell. The daughter agreed with it, and it silenced her.
How often do we do that unintentionally?
Probably more than we realize. It highlights the need for forgiveness for ourselves and others.
And gossip is the worst form, a computer virus for the mind.
That's his analogy. It spreads emotional poison, distorts perception. We learn it by agreement, watching others.
Bonding over shared negativity almost. Misery loves company.
Right. And each time we hear gossip, it's like injecting that virus and we spread it further. This creates that inner chaos, the moat.
The example of hearing gossip about a new teacher and how it poisons the experience before it even starts, that's very relatable.
It shows how easily perception is skewed. And then there are those who spread negativity intentionally. The black magicians seeking revenge or just wanting to pull others down.
But even more damaging is how we gossip to ourselves, the negative self-talk.
Constantly criticizing ourselves. Understanding the word's power and aiming for impeccability has to start with how we speak to ourselves.
Telling ourselves we're wonderful, breaking those old negative self-agreements.
Yes. And the hopeful part is that being impeccable cleanses that poison and builds immunity to negative spells from others.
Our minds become fertile ground for love, not fear.
And it correlates with self-love. The more we love ourselves, the more impeccable our word becomes naturally.
It leads to inner peace, joy, transcends suffering.
It really lays the groundwork. Using our word consciously for love, for white magic, starting with ourselves. It's the pathway to our own kingdom of heaven, as he puts it.
Okay, so that's the first agreement, powerful stuff. Now, the second, don't take anything personally.
Yes. And this one, like the next two, really builds on that foundation of impeccability.
The core idea is whatever happens, don't make it about you.
Exactly. Remember the example. Someone calls you stupid, it's about them, their internal state, their own stuff. Taking it personally means you agree, you let their poison in.
And the root cause is personal importance, thinking everything revolves around me.
Right. That feeling of selfishness. We're often taught we're responsible for everything, but Ruiz says nothing others do is because of you. It's their dream, their programming.
Even direct insults are reflections of their world, not our worth.
Hmm. Taking it personally makes us vulnerable, easy targets for those black magicians who use words to hook us.
But not taking it personally gives us immunity.
Incredible immunity. It's a huge gift in a world often filled with negativity. Taking things personally just leads to feeling offended, defensive, needing to be right.
And our own actions and feelings are projections of our dream, too.
Yes. What we say, do believe it's about our internal agreements, not really about others. So their opinions of us aren't personal either.
Whether they call us an angel or a devil depends on their mood, not our true self.
Exactly. It's their movie, their perspective. Even if they say, you hurt me, it's usually their existing wounds being triggered.
And all those negative emotions, anger, hate, jealousy, they stem from fear.
Fundamentally, yes. Live with less fear, and those emotions diminish. Feel good inside, and the world looks good. That comes from self-love.
This applies to positive feedback, too. We don't need it to know our worth.
That's the ideal. You know yourself. Even extreme things aren't truly personal in that sense.
What about the voices in our heads? The Toltec allies or other influences?
Don't take those personally either. We always have a choice in what we believe. That internal moat, the chaos of conflicting voices, gets easier to navigate if we don't personalize it.
It avoids so much suffering. He mentions humans seem addicted to suffering.
Paradoxically, yes. We often agree to suffer and reinforce it in each other. Believing you deserve abuse might lead you to situations where it happens.
And people lie a lot, often from fear, so trusting ourselves is key.
Absolutely. Trust your own judgment. And if someone consistently treats you badly, their departure is actually a gift, preventing more pain.
Practicing this agreement brings freedom from anger, jealousy, envy, sadness.
Immense freedom, immunity to gossip and black magic. It breaks habits that trap us in that dream of hell.
It empowers us to make our own choices, not be dictated by others' actions.
You become responsible for you. It shields you from countless upsets. You can navigate the world with a more open heart, less fear, more peace.
All right, that's a big one. Let's move to the third agreement. Don't make assumptions.
Another one flowing from impeccability. And this addresses a huge human tendency.
We assume things all the time, and we believe our assumptions are true.
We really do. We mistake our stories for reality. And this, Ruiz says, is where most misunderstandings, personalization, blame, and drama come from.
So much sadness and drama rooted in assuming and taking things personally.
It fuels that war of control between people. We generate so much emotional poison just by jumping to conclusions.
And assumptions often lead to gossip, right? To validate our shaky beliefs.
Instead of just asking. He stresses, always better to ask questions. Assumptions set us up for suffering.
That big moat in the mind contributes we see and hear what we want to, based on our existing beliefs.
Like the example of seeing someone smile and instantly creating a whole relationship fantasy. Our minds fill in the blanks, often incorrectly.
This must happen constantly in relationships, assuming partners know what we want without us saying it.
Oh, definitely. You should have known. That leads to so much hurt. Or differing assumptions about marriage roles, causing conflict.
Why do we do it? Why assume instead of asking?
Our minds crave certainty, explanation. We need to feel safe, so we fill in the gaps, even with no evidence. It avoids the discomfort of not knowing or the fear of asking.
And we defend our assumptions, even if they damage relationships. The biggest assumption being
That everyone sees life, thinks, feels, judges exactly like we do, which makes us afraid to be ourselves.
we also assume things about ourselves overestimate or underestimate our abilities.
Without real self-inquiry. And in relationships, we might ignore red flags, assuming my love will change them.
Which rarely works. Real love accepts people as they are.
Right. He suggests finding partners who already align with what you want, rather than assuming you can mold them.
So the key is courage. Courage to ask questions, ensure clear communication.
Yes. Ask until you understand. And find your voice to ask for what you want. Everyone has the right to ask, and everyone has the right to say yes or no.
Clear communication avoids assumptions.
Completely. If communication is clean, clear, and free of emotional poison, assumptions disappear. It transforms relationships.
He even suggests it could solve global issues if everyone stopped assuming and communicated impeccably.
It's a powerful thought. Becoming aware of the habit is the first step. But consistent action, practicing asking questions, is crucial to make it a new agreement.
Okay, that leads us to the fourth and final agreement. Always do your best.
And this is the one that makes the other three become ingrained habits. It's the action part,
But your best isn't fixed, right? It changes.
constantly. Depends on your health, mood, energy levels. Your best when sick is different from your best when well.
But it improves over time as you practice the other agreements.
Yes. The key is balance. Don't do more than your best that leads to burnout. Don't do less that leads to frustration, guilt, regret.
And if you always do your best, whatever that is in the moment.
You eliminate self judgment. No room for guilt, blame, self punishment.
He tells that story about the man meditating intensely for enlightenment.
Right. To show the goal isn't sacrifice, it's living fully, being happy, loving, while doing your best.
Doing your best leads to a productive life, but the motivation matters. Action for its own sake, not just for reward.
Exactly. Working only for reward creates resistance and suffering, and you probably won't do your best. But acting because you love it or value it, that brings enjoyment. Rewards often follow anyway,
It denies the inner judge ammunition.
because you know you did all you could in that moment. It involves learning from mistakes, practicing continuously.
And it feels like enjoyment, not work, when aligned with desire.
Consistent effort brings happiness and fulfillment. Action is about living fully now, not being paralyzed by fear.
Like Forrest Gump, not necessarily brilliant ideas, but always doing his best led to amazing things.
It's a great example. Doing your best can become a ritual of self love, honoring life, like appreciating a shower or the Indian puja ritual devotion through action.
It connects to gratitude, being present, letting go of the past, honoring your right to be you.
And the first three agreements only really stick when you commit to this one. Always doing your best underpins everything.
And don't beat yourself up if you fail. Just start again tomorrow.
Precisely. Focus on doing your best today. Stay present.
With consistent effort, these agreements transform your life.
Doing your best is the start of creating that new, more authentic dream.
So, wrapping up, the four agreements offer this really practical path to personal freedom, to creating a new dream for yourself.
A very profound framework, really. It's been great diving into it again.
Thank you for joining us today here on MetaBookNook Deep Dives for Curious Minds.
And if you, listening, want to explore this more, check the description for links to purchase the four agreements and find other resources.
Please do tune in next time. We'll have another deep dive into some fascinating material to help expand your understanding. Until then, wishing you clarity and peace on your journey.